Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Portsmouth Coffee Talk Podcast Network, featuring coffee talk in the evening. And I'm Slim Overton, of course, and I'm here with a panel of guests we have here tonight. And welcome back, everybody. You know, we have been away for a while, and we came back maybe about 2 weeks ago. And I know y'all grooving on the jazz, but okay. We were back. Grace and I came back. Lewis and I came back maybe about 2 weeks ago and started to introduce the coming back of Portsmouth Coffee Talk. And here we are. And this is the official beginning. We'll be here every week, every Monday night at 7 p.m. Don't know what's going to happen when Monday Night Football comes on, but I think we'll usually be finished by that time. But Anyway, it depends on who's playing now. If anybody's playing other than Dallas, I don't care. But,
same here.
Yeah. Anyway, but we have the guest here, and we have Lewis Gracie here, who's a co-host, and I want him to introduce the guest we have. Well, I'll introduce my Portsmouth resident, and Lewis is a Portsmouth resident also. But we have the humanitarian you see there from Georgia, from around Atlanta. And he's from Portsmouth, Virginia, and so Wesley Band, and IC Northern graduate, came out 1 year ahead of me. That was a pretty good class too, Wes. I got to admit it, but 72 was the best. But we'll talk about that on another show. But anyway, Wesley Band, welcome. Thanks for joining us this evening.
I'm glad to be here.
Yes, indeed. And Lewis, introduce your guest from your now native land.
Yes,
native state. Native state. Your native state is Virginia.
Yeah, but it's adopted. The adopted state.
Your adopted state. Yeah.
The adopted state, because whenever anybody asks me where I'm from, I say, well, I'm originally from Virginia. I want to make that crystal clear. And I say, but I've been living here since I was stationed here since 1978. But I always put my hometown of Portsmouth, Virginia first, for many reasons, because I always got to mention R.C. Narcombe High School, which is one of my reasons why I'm a little bit like I am today. So first, I want to let our audience know that we can have Miss Gloria Dent coming on later. She's she's a board chairman for our local school board. She'll be coming on later. But right now, I got to introduce Mr. Michael Chan, our delegate, and our future senator, our future state senator. We had a local election.
Is it Michael Chan or Mark Chan?
Mark Chan.
It's the same.
Mark Chan. Excuse me, Mark.
Yeah, Michael Chan. That's somebody completely different.
I got Michael on my head for some reason. Anyway, Mark Chan bested one of our friends who have been on the show a number of times, Reverend Steve Stillett. Mark won out in the Democratic primary, and Mark Chan will more than likely be our next Maryland state senator. And I know he will be the very first Korean American from Anne Arundel County. I don't know what the state record is. We got a number of Koreans in the state house, but he will be the first state senator from Anne Arundel County. And I like to say before Mark talk is that Mark and I have been friends for over 35 plus years. And you know, I said this before, is that I judge people by what they do, not what they say. And Mark is one of those persons who, one thing, he has always given his word. And if he couldn't do something, he will always tell you in advance, I can't do that, or something like that, rather than BSing you along. And Mark always answer his constituents. And he always do a great job in that, and always has done a great job of that. So when some of my people give me some guff about Mark Chan, Mark know what I've said to them all, and directly I told them all to kiss my you know what. because I say most of you people don't do half the stuff that he does, and you just talk a bunch of crap. This man's deliver. But also I want to say, and Mark knows this, I did support Steve Tillett, and I told Mark in advance why I was supporting Steve Tillett, and we was, he understood, and after the primary, I made it crystal clear that Mark will receive my full and total support from here on in. So Mark Chan, I'm gonna call you Senator in advance, and welcome to the show. I think it's your third time you've been on, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
And Mark, before you talk, I wanted to just comment on something Lewis said, and I think it's important to say because a lot of times we get all hung up on this political game, where sometimes we support someone else, but when it comes down to it, whoever's the victor, we have to come together and support the person that won. And a lot of times, people, if their candidate doesn't win, then they stay home the next time.
That's right.
And forget about the total party or the total what we're trying to do. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of people are in that position. Sometimes you have to choose between who you want when two people that you appreciate are running against each other, and you make a choice. But then it's not something that is something personal. And all politics are local, and something Senator Louise Lucas always said: in politics, there are no permanent enemies. And she also said there are no permanent friends, but I don't agree with that part of it. But I think we all can be friends. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, because you don't always have to, the person you don't support doesn't mean that you don't support them later on, in the effort that is trying to make. All right, go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I thought that was an important point to make.
Thank you very much, Mr. Overton, and good evening, Mr. Wesley, and thank you very much to Portsmouth Coffee Talk for hosting this evening, and it's been really an honor to be on this for the third time. And to my really dear friend Lewis, as he's mentioned, we've been friends for decades, and he's just been really so kind and gracious, and our friendship runs deep. And, things sometimes go for just a season, but friendships last forever. And so I really would say that for us, it is definitely a permanent friendship. And so, really appreciate, actually, Lewis reached out to me and asked if I would, and kindly invited me to come on the show this evening, and absolutely wanted to be on, just see Lewis. I usually see his wife over at a local indoor mall area where we usually get our exercise in, but it's good to see Lewis. I think this is actually probably the first time I've actually seen Lewis since the primary. So it's been, Maryland did have a primary almost 2 months ago, and so it's been able to get some rest from that. But really great to talk about the midterm elections during this coffee talk, and so look forward to the conversation. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And let me, and I think this is going to be kind of an open panel, and I have a few bullet points I want to get to, and one particular question I want to ask, but I want to wait till Dr. Dent gets here, because it's a question that's for the locals and how certain things nationally affect the local politics. Anyway, I want to go to you, Wesley, real quick. And I mentioned earlier, before we came on air, you went to the National Association of Black Journalists affair. And the reason I wanted to get your opinion on that, because one of the complaints on the last election with Kamala Harris, that, and some of our other Democratic candidates, they did not go to a lot of the Black platforms, like they should. And they were kind of advised by, these guys that come in there with suits on and say, well, this is where you need to go. And a lot of places where they could have gone, and especially some of the national things like Roland Martin and now Joy Reid and Don Lemon and all those people, and spent a lot of their dollars there and reached a lot of people that they needed to reach. So I think it's probably a different approach. Well, hopefully it's a different approach now that did you get the feel as being there that you know that the association they've always been available to do that, but they are kind of pushing to make sure that during this midterm was not much time, but any elections going forward, that people they will push people to go to the black outlets. If you're a candidate, go everywhere, but don't avoid the black outlets because you see what can happen if you don't.
Yes, it. I tell you what we have going on down here right now, and I'm glad you brought that up. Mike Jackson, the guy that's running for governor against Lance Bottom, is hitting all the black restaurants. I mean, this man is getting now. He's already told us that he's going to be one of Trump's boys, and I looked for him actually at the NABJ. I kind of thought he might have been in there, but I didn't see him. There weren't many of the candidates that were there, but you had a lot of people. Roland Martin was there, Joy Reid, your legends of media were there.
And Oscar
You know,
Coffee Talk should have been there.
yeah, it should have been there. Ben Crump was there, and Al Sharpton, and it was kind of laid back because I had the opportunity to sit with Ben Crump for a little while, especially. But well, the reason I was there was because of my wife.
Mhm.
Lynn was there, and she's one of the elders of the group now, and so we got a lot of people pulled into us. But yeah, it would have been a prime opportunity for anybody running for public office to don't. I've been looking at this recently. Don't take the black vote for granted. Okay, don't think just because you skin folks that don't necessarily make you kin folk. Okay, and so you've got to be careful how you mix and match what you want to do. And so, yeah, I agree with you, Slim. It should have been a whole lot more of the people running with 2 months away from November. I was expecting to see because this was the national. This was not the Atlanta Association of Black, but this was the big one. This the big gun. And they have in the past invited several politicians and everybody to come. This is one of the first years they didn't invite the president to come. I think they invited him at the last one, and it was so chaotic that they decided not to be bothered with it anymore. But the rest of the politicians could have been there, and they might have been. Now we were kind of isolated. I'd say isolated because we were Lynn was always cornered somewhere. And I've always just went somewhere and found me a bar and a good beer to have, and I was fine. But it's a prime opportunity, and you're right. It's a prime opportunity for legislators and politicians and people running, young folks. It was a lot of young people now. I'm gonna tell
Yeah.
you, it's a bunch of young folks that's out there running for office, and a bunch of young people out there that's trying to be on media, and they did a good job. There was some young people that were in charge of this, and they're now doing a great job. But like I was saying earlier, Jackson that's running for governor against Keisha, he's hit Big Daddy's restaurant. He's hit several restaurants. Now the restaurant owners don't want him there because now they getting backlash because they going like, okay, we don't care who you vote for, but if this is who you supporting, then I don't want my dollars going into your restaurant to go to this man because he said he's going to be Trump's favorite governor. He said he's already told us. He told us to our face, I'm whatever Trump does, I'm gonna be just like him, but with a southern flair, and that's a dog whistle, and that's a big dog whistle right there. And so he's definitely one of those that's gonna be looking for Jim Crow 2.0. And but at the same time, he's hitting he with a black barber shop. He's hit several of the restaurants. He's hitting the black community, so he's there. And my advice to Keisha right now, don't act like, get ahead of the game. Don't assume that just because you black, we gonna vote for you. That day is gone. We look at it. I mean, ask them other brothers that's running for governor in Florida how many they gonna vote for him, or the brother over there in North Carolina. Those strong Trump supporters like that, they're not gonna get that vote. And that conversation came up. That
Yeah.
conversation came up while they were there. But yeah, it would have been a prime opportunity, and it was a great event. I give it to the National Association. It's a great event to have there.
Yeah, it looked like it was something there, and when you go to those platforms, you really have to speak truth to power and answer the questions because
Mhm.
and I'm gonna go to Delegate Chan there since I'm gonna call it in existence that you're gonna be uh, in DC soon, but you're going to DC or you're going to the state senate.
It's the state senate, sir.
Oh, okay. Well, the state senate. Well, that that's powerful as well. But even in the state senate, do you see? I mean, do you feel? I mean, because one of the disappointments that some people see in our party is that when questions are asked, and we have seen a lot. We pay attention. Questions a lot. We are getting kind of tired of dodging around things, and letting the other side just come at us. Now we have a few candidates out there now on the national scene and on the state scene that are handing it to Trump or handing it to people playing their game, but not getting too dirty, but playing their game, and that's what a lot of people want to see. And if we want to get the people's off the couches, because some people, could care less about Democrat or Republican. But if we want to get people off the couches, we have to talk to them. We have to, answer those questions. And I see, and I hate to say this, but Hakeem Jeffries is good for dancing around questions. And I
Mhm.
like him, but, every time they ask him a question, you can start the answer off with no or yes, but then he goes, the typical politician answer. So I've
Mhm.
said all that to say, Delegate Chan, that's what, have you found that kind of formula works best? We're just coming straight forward and telling the people when you get a question that might be difficult, you just answer it, no, I don't agree with that, and then explain it rather than dancing around it and really never answering the question.
Absolutely. From my experience, I believe that's really about being direct, and I think that there's more appreciation. I think that we've seen in Maryland a little bit of apathy, and it's because I think people are kind of tired of the dancing around the question
It's
and the
almost
answer.
like an insult,
Yeah. So I think that there's more appreciation for directness. And I would say that from my experience that here in the state of Maryland, that for the most part, we do pretty have direct leaders. And again, Lewis and I have gone back many years. And I would say that because of, just him really being a great mentor to me, that it's really given me the boldness and also just the
Yeah.
courage and also the authenticity to answer those questions. I think that's what we need from our leaders. And I believe that how we hold them accountable is by folks like yourselves and from constituents, and really to, be really informed about what's going on. And when the constituents are really informed, then that really holds the leaders accountable because they're like, whoa, they really know what they're talking about.
Right.
And a lot of times I go to Lewis for advice, and I'm not afraid to ask. I say, Lewis, I don't know what's going on, or I don't know this issue like you do, and then educate me, inform me, and then actually that gives me more boldness to be able to stand up and to be able to make better decisions. And I mean, for myself, as a son of immigrants, there's right now there's not too many leaders who look like me in the state of Maryland, and we're getting there. But I would say that because of really the example of Lewis, being a grassroots trailblazer in our community, him taking me under his wing and really showing me, that's really given me the courage. So I would say that, for all of us, that whoever our leaders are on the local, state, county, national levels, to really, build that relationship with them, and then, but also let them know that what's going on.
Yeah.
So,
Delegate Chain, are you talking? You said people don't look like you too many. Are you talking Korean, or are you talking about Asians in
I'm
general?
talking about Asian Americans in general.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I think that as Lewis graciously stated, that if things don't work out in November, be one of the few, one of the first. But I'm gonna, and I say this all authenticity and genuineness, that it's really, I credit Lewis a lot of it to Lewis, because, and he'll tell you, when nobody stood by me, he was right by me. So. Yeah.
But you'll still be representing a broad group of people of color. So.
Yes, absolutely, and that's what I really believe, is that that we're starting to see more of that representation across the board, and so
right,
I really,
everybody.
Yep, absolutely.
People of color in particular.
Yeah, let me piggyback on both the comments and sum it up. First thing, I agree with what Wesley was saying 100% down at the convention. And what I don't like about those conventions is like you said, the candidates, a lot of them didn't show for various reasons. You can't avoid the black media. And I think it's to your detriment to do that. That's number one. The other thing that you mentioned was about how every election cycle, every 4 years, we have to keep going through this thing, convincing the DNC and the whoever is the party here, even with Kamala Harris, even when she ran, they waited until the last 2 months before they actually addressed black media. And that goes all the way back to Bill Clinton. They do that all the time. That's the one thing I agree with Roland Martin all the time, is that the Democratic Party and the DNC are very weak and very lax in addressing what they should be addressing from the very beginning. That's why a lot of black people say that the Democratic Party take us for granted, because when it comes to handing out the big money for the advertisement during the campaign, the big money goes to the standard bearers. The big money don't go to the people who can get the money and get the word all the way down to the hood level. And that's one of the things that I criticize local and national Democratic leaders about, is that they need to push that with the local media and the state media and the national media every single day, because they keep avoiding that issue. So that's the one thing on the media. And the other part that you was mentioning, and Mark alluded to, is the need to continue to keep pressure on our elected officials. We got a thing going on right now in this state dealing with the redistricting. And you had a certain amount of Democrats who wanted to run away from the issue. They was afraid to touch the issue. The governor came out hard against the issue, and he only did it because of what was going on in Texas. Now, no one would be redistricting at all if it wasn't for what Trump started. But what I don't like is that the Democrats in all the states that grudgingly came along later, they still trying to play nice. They still trying to act. They don't understand that you can't continue to be nice, like you say, like even Cory Booker, Jeffries. These are our national recognized leaders, and they always dancing around the issue instead of just coming out like AOC, Bernie, and other people. And I urge everybody who's listening to this show right now, listen to the speech that Senator John Ossopp gave yesterday in the ATL in Georgia. That was a very powerful speech. He didn't bite his tongue on anything. He laid it all out. And Mark will tell you point blank that I have always said that Democrats need to go for the jugular. They need to learn how to play hardball, and they have to stop trying to make everybody happy. And I close with this part, that you can't make, especially now, in this day and time. We know who the enemy is. The enemy is MAGA. The enemy is 77 million people who, regardless of all the facts, they stood with this moronic rapist, this liar, this person who disrespects the military. Those people are never going to change. And this is what I hate to have to keep saying this to Democrats, is that Democrats still keep trying to to make nice of everybody. Those people don't like you. Those people don't like you. And so get off that stuff of trying to appease them because they don't like you. When we were in this election, and Mark knows because he know I wrote it, sent it to everybody. I wore my shirt that says, America in distress, and the flag is upside down. One of the candidates, I won't call his name on a thing, he didn't do it, but his people did it. The people came up and told him, he said, I don't think you should have bracelets around you with that America in distress shirt. Now, America is in distress. The upside down flag demonstrates distress in the military. Everybody understands that. It's not anti-American to say it. But because these guys who was working with the candidate wanted to appease white people that ain't going to vote for him in the first place, they said they didn't think he should appear with me. And when they said it, and Mark know, I sent the letter to everybody in the state and told them what I felt about it. And I said very clear, I speak French. I said you can kiss my ass. Because it's very clear that America is in distress because of what this fool is doing with all the tariffs, the gas, all the health care, all of these negative things. And you're going to be upset and you're going to try to separate your candidate from someone who's wearing a shirt that says America is in distress. Now that's what I'm showing. The Mark didn't run away from my shirt. The governor didn't run away from my shirt. But you got these other people who thought it was an offense because they say, well, we don't want to offend the white people in Glen Burnie and in the Southern County because we try to get him elected by all the people. Now, if you know anything about Maryland, and Mark knows this state better than I do, you are not going to get those votes from some of those people, no matter what. No matter what, you could be Jesus coming back as white, and Jesus was not white. Jesus was black. But you could come back to this earth and you could say, I'm white Jesus. And if white Jesus said he was going to support certain people, those white people ain't going to vote for white Jesus either. So that's what I just want to say. We got to stop being nice with these other people. They don't like us. They like MAGA. They're going to stick with MAGA. We got to go with the dream of what this country is supposed to be about. America is not there yet. America is not a great country. America will never be a great country if they keep going like they're doing right now. But America is not a great country. America has the dream.
You're definitely right. And I just want to remind you, this is a panel. We have panel discussion here. It's just some other people here. So, and I know how your passion is, and that's great. And I'm not trying to cut you off, but
no, go ahead. You're right.
We just got a limited amount of time. But everything you said was right on point. I appreciate that, and especially when you mentioned Senator John Oscar, Wesley. I know you're proud of him coming from the state of Georgia. One of the things about him and that other probably people in the Congress and the Senate should understand that they can speak out like that. It's kind of different for the governor of California. He speaks like that, but he has to sort of pull back sometime because Trump can come in there and say, well, I'm going to hold some of your funds for your state. But a senator or a congressman, Trump can't come in there and, really hurt you. So you really have a little bit more leverage to speak that way. And I understand certain times you have to be politically correct in what you say. But, you got to fight fire with fire. You can't let him just say anything he wants to say without hitting them back. And he has a soft skin and he's gonna fold or he's gonna come back and say something stupid. But you have to hit them and remind the people that it's fault on their side as well. So
so one of the things, and Lewis, I agree with you that the Democrats will eat their young. You know, whenever somebody gets in trouble, does something crazy, they I give it to them. They get rid of them quick. The Republicans, on the other hand, if somebody does something, they're gonna find an excuse. That's how we ended up with a president with 34 felony charges. We got a convict in the White House because they excuse that. Democrats don't
Mhm.
do that. They believe in trying to be right. They want to play the right side, so they always appear to be right. But you're right. It's time now that they can't play goody, and everybody's gonna be happy with me. Everybody gonna enjoy my party. Of that said, what I disagree with you on though, of that 77 million that voted for Trump, according to the polls now, there's only about 39% of people that still support him. If I were head of the DNC, I would be going at those that had left and say, "Look, y'all, come on with us. You made a boo boo. Okay, you voted 3 times wrong. Now 3 times a charm. Now you understand truly who this man is, and he's told you who he is, and he wants to be the king. And if we're not careful, it's already set up. If we're not careful, Trump is going to run for a third term. At least he's going to put an attempt to get out there and do it. And we've got to depend on the Supreme Court as much as possible to get that done. But I would, if I were them, I would take advantage of them, plus that 89.3 million that didn't vote, because now they are starting to realize that because I didn't vote, I put this country in jeopardy.
They're
Because
hurting,
I didn't vote,
personally hurting.
yeah, I put this country in jeopardy. My gasoline is costing me $5 a gallon now because I didn't vote. Because I didn't vote, bread is high. Because I didn't vote, the education department is going awry. So, then I got somebody in health and human services talking about don't give your children vaccines. We've got to take advantage of those people now. They're looking for leadership. And
Mhm.
also, whoo, baby, I love him. I love that kid. Ever since he and
In Tennessee,
yes, them young boys over there. Ever since they got out, and I love what happened in Tennessee
Mhm.
when they gerrymandered that thing. The guy that was running for the one of the House seats over there gerrymandered himself right out of a seat because that young boy's got one of them young boys, Pearson. He's the one that got out there and got the seat of the incumbent and beat him out there at his own game. So
Mhm.
we've got to stop playing. We got to take the mask off now. Democracy is on the line. We have got to go and get this thing and get this ship back up right. Because this, look at what, and I know for you, Slim, at home, y'all got to be going crazy. You got that the Abraham Lincoln sitting over there for more days than it's supposed to. Now the ship will run forever because it's run on nuclear power, but the food runs out.
the
Okay.
food and the morale of the
Yes.
sailors and the
Yes.
Marines. And one thing about if you got Marines on the ship, how much do they have to do? you know,
Yeah.
I heard somebody interviewing a Marine that was on those ships, and when they deploy like that, and all the jobs are for the sailors, and the Marines are just there, and
They
you're
just
there
say,
for an extended time. Most of the time, they're there to be shipped or dropped off somewhere. But when they just floating around in the water, or uh, what the Marines have to do, and that's when
yeah,
you
yeah.
get
And
people,
so
one person wants
Secretary
to jump off
Hanscom,
the ship.
don't tell the American people that you've got people running this country. And I agree. America has never been a great country. It's done great things, but it's never, in my opinion, it's never ever been great because it never cashed a check, as Martin Luther King said. They gave us a check with insufficient funds on
Yeah. How
it,
can
and
we be
so
great again and we never been great
right,
in the
right. That's
first place?
exactly right. You can't be MAGA. MAGA is a construct. It's like race.
Yeah.
Race is a construct. It was
Just like
constructed.
white and black, made up
Yeah,
construct.
it was created. It was just something created.
It's
But
a world
we
full
have
of ethnic groups,
we
not
yeah
white and black.
we got to get back. We just got to get back and get this thing back on track, and we got to have candidates like also. He's serious about this thing. I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell you, he ain't playing with it. He ain't laughing. He ain't joking. He's out here. He's running. He's telling them what he's done. He's not name calling. He's just going at it with straight facts. And this is what I want to do.
Yeah,
That
same
kid down
same
in
thing with the mayor of New York.
yes sir. The
He's
kid in
getting things done. He
Texas. What's
promised what he
his
was
name?
going to do, and he's doing.
That little Christian boy down there in Texas. He's using the Bible and beating them folks
Christian
out
boy.
the head with it, baby. He told him, I said, whoop.
Yeah,
But
let me.
Edwin Maryland, Wesley Moore up there, the governor up there. Mark, I have an aunt that lives up there. She lives in Upper Marlboro,
Oh yeah,
and she,
right down the street
yeah,
from us. Yeah,
yeah, she keeps me informed. And she's from Portsmouth, man, born and raised in Portsmouth. Well,
yeah.
former Miss I.C. Norca, matter of fact. But Aunt Antoinette keeps me informed. And
She's great.
she stays in stress about that thing. But we've got to as a party, the Democratic Party, there's got to be one that is going to go ahead on and stop this laughing and joking and jiving and just get out there and put this thing back. We ain't scared of Trump.
Yeah.
You know,
Let
I
me
tell
ask you.
you.
Let me ask you, gentlemen, something. A lot of the talking points on the Republican side, they're trying to control the narrative and put out there what's really important. But what's really important, there are 5 to 7 to 10 things that are really important to the American people, and they are going away from that. They're trying to make you think we should be worried about trans, you know, people playing in sports, which is percentages like 2 point something, that or all these things that they're putting out there where the percentage of that even happening is so low. It's just a deflection from what really is, like affordability and cost. People are paying, using their credit cards to buy food, and you buying food, and by the time you paying interest on it, the food is gone because you ate it. So what I'm asking you, what do you all think? Maybe I'll put it this way: the top 5 really issues that we really should be paying attention to when we looking at candidates, and their talking points. But you're not worrying about trends and what they're doing. I mean, if that's something that's against your religion or something like that's a whole different story. But we're talking about the big picture here. The people that you want in office that's going to be concerned about the issues that really affect the people, the voters out there. So you can start. I'll start with you, Delegate Chan. What do you think? I guess you out there on the campaign trail. So
Absolutely,
what
yeah. We're definitely hearing about
Yeah.
affordability for everything.
Can I hold a second a minute? Mark,
Yes, sir.
when you answer that question, could you also state and let people know, in your view, what would the Democrats be doing to go after those 89 million people that Wesley mentioned? Because that is very important. So in addition to what Slim just asked you, give us your view as to, because you'll be going to these conventions and these workshops and stuff, before the primary, before the general election. What should and what are the Democratic Party doing to reach those 89 million people, in addition to the question that Slim asked?
Absolutely. It's affordability. I mean, that's the most thing we're really hearing about is the gas prices, energy costs, the cost of groceries, housing insecurities, cuts to Medicaid, cuts to Medicare, with regards to SNAP programs. I mean, these are all programs that everyday Americans are feeling. And we as the Democratic Party, we're reaching out to them saying, on the state level, and as Democrats, we're doing what we can to backfill all those different really draconian cuts and draconian effects that have happened because of the Trump administration. And also because of the war, the endless war that's happening overseas and how that's affecting us here in the United States. And so people see that. And really, I believe that, I really strongly believe that Democrats are really going to get out there and vote. We've already shown it in the primaries all across the country, and as far as what the turnout's been from Democrats versus Republicans, and also independents. And so for the next 80 plus days, reaching out to independents and also Republicans and letting them know, enough is enough. And we really do have the solutions instead of all this, this nonsense and all this drama that's happening. And that's what I really believe people want, is that they want to know that they're going to be able to put food on the table and send their kids to school and be able to afford the gas in the car, and not be concerned about what's going on overseas. That's because something's going to come over and affect us in the United States. But then there's the other side too that we were seeing on the grassroots level, is that I think people are just so fed up, and they're just like, there's sort of this apathy too, that, oh, what does my vote? My vote doesn't make a difference. And I think that's something that we are closely monitoring, but really getting out and reaching out to all the voters to say their vote does matter and that they've got to get out to the polls. I mean, I really believe we're going to see a blue wave. Mr. Wesley mentioned this earlier about Texas, James Tallarico, a young man in Texas. We really believe he's going to win that seat. And it's because he's connecting and he's talking about the kitchen table issues. He's talking about how he was that kid who grew up with a single mom who was trying to, slept in the car in the station wagon and didn't know, where his next meal was going to come from, and went through the public school education system. And so that's, I really believe, how, and it doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, those are all issues that connect. And so I believe that we as Democrats, we really have the opportunity to really provide real based solutions.
Yeah, and he's going to the right places too, where during his primary he avoided some places, but he caught on, and you might see him at Sirius Urban View or those places where he needs to be, and everywhere else he goes too. But he got a big Latino vote there, but he didn't get much of the other minority vote. So now he knows where he has to go in order to get that message out. And like you said, Delegate Chang, the kitchen table issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even in the comments right now, Catherine Bracy, 825, I've been affected greatly as I received a letter from Medicare. They can no longer pay for my allergy shots. Yeah, so these are, Miss Catherine, she's just trying to get her allergy shots, and Medicare's talking about cutting the allergy shots. So these are real issues that affect us from day to day, and I really believe that we had the opportunity. I think the map is, I think we got to get a net gain of 3 in the Senate, 4, 3 in the House, and 4 in the Senate, and I mean South Carolina, that's in play. Possibly with the U.S. Senate there, and in Maine. And right here in Maryland, we're sending folks up to Pennsylvania, and also down to Virginia. There's a couple of congressional battleground districts down there. So we in Maryland are trying to do our job to send folks to try to pick up seats on the federal level. And as a state representative, whether it be in the House or the state Senate, we've really had to backfill a lot of the draconian cuts from the federal level. And so it's going to be really important to have a partner or partners on the federal level who's going to be able to help us. I mean, we still don't have a key bridge, that has been rebuilt. I mean, that deals with trade, commerce, transportation, and it's really because the Trump administration playing games. I mean, you kind of talked a little bit earlier about how the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, he's bold and strong, but sometimes he's got to pull it back just a little bit because as far as infrastructure and
Trump can hold those funds.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're experiencing in Maryland here. I mean, it's been years now, but they play that game. The Republicans play that game that, hey, they're blaming it on the Democrats, the Democratic governor, the Democrat leaders, and whereas Biden, when President Biden was in office, he made a commitment to fast track that down payment to help rebuild that bridge. So these are just examples of what we're experiencing. And then also we continue to experience the workforce shortage on the federal level. I mean, the state of Maryland has so many federal assets and workforce, and we continue to experience those negative effects.
Well, one thing I like about Virginia, what Virginia's doing, they're still moving forward, because one of the most devastating things was when uh, the majority of Virginians voted, you know, on that referendum, and people really felt like, because that could have been a disaster for people that voted, and then just to have the courts to come by and say, nope, your vote doesn't mean nothing, you know, and how this encourage this disencouraging is that, to you already got people, doubtful of if their votes count, and then they go out there and vote for this referendum and win, and the court comes right by and says, wipes that out and says none of that counts, and then you know, but I think we bouncing back from that, because that could have discouraged a lot of people, even the people on the leadership level could have said, "Wow, that was a big blow." But Don Scott and Senator Lucas, they still marching on and fighting for
Mhm.
the people that they were elected
Yeah, I
to.
agree with you. I agree
Go
with
ahead.
you on that, Slim. Because the things down here people are concerned about the biggest thing is the economy for them, and that word affordability, just being able to pay your bills and get gas. That's the big thing. Education is fearful, because you've got a secretary of education that can't figure out the difference between A1 and AI. Okay, you've got and for Virginia, and down here, because we've got some forts and a lot of army down here. It's the problem with the Secretary of War, as they like to call it, but the Secretary of Defense is pathetic. It's and obviously now we've lost a kid here. One of the young men that been murdered over there, and I'm gonna call it murder. One of the young men that's been murdered over there in Iran was from here, and the families want to know what is this war about. Why did I lose my son? We can help, and we're basically what's going on. America is witnessing one of the greatest heists in the history of the world. This group of people, they're thieves, and they're going in and they're putting stuff up and saying, I'm building a big ballroom. I've
Mhm.
got this big thing, this renovation of this pool I want, and they're just taking money and pocketing it. You got to be mighty blind not to see exactly what's going on. But that is exactly what's going on. And I think that's one of the things that the people are looking forward to. They want education back. They want their health back. Health is important. And we were getting along to where we were doing pretty good. And because the rest of the world, everybody in the world takes care of their citizens. This is the
Universal.
only free nation that doesn't do it. Because we got to make sure our doctors drive Maseratis. I guess
and,
that's yes, I have no
and
idea.
and the
I
But
have to agree.
pharmaceutical CEOs drive two of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
But
you know,
funny you mentioned that about the war. This is the actual days. Should have been 60 days
Mhm.
for that memorandum of understanding,
mhm,
that Trump went through. And this, and they said for the next 60 days, and whatever went on in between that, should have been the day where they started really, talking about what was going on. And in between that, it's supposed to have been a ceasefire. But
right.
I remember when they first came out with that MOU, and that's something that you deal with locally. When I was on the planning commission, we had a lot of those between contractors and the city. But when you talk about on this level, and you're talking about war, you know, you got to have something a little stronger than that. And then if you have that, you have to abide by it. I mean, few days after that, they still fighting. I mean, they still bombing. So that didn't work at all. But and that kind of going under the radar. This would have been the day 60 of whatever was supposed to have been going on with that, the big deal that he put together. And you remember how it was every week? He said another 2 weeks we should be
Mhm.
doing this. and now he's talking about bumming the hell out of everybody.
Yeah.
And
Well, I got to comment on that, James. I got
Go
to
ahead.
comment on that.
go ahead.
And I try to be short, but you know how I can get my fever goes up real quick.
Yeah, I'll stop you. I'll stop you. Go ahead.
Yeah, but let me comment on first thing. Let me hit the military
Please do.
aspect of it. The military aspect of this thing is beyond horrendous. You have the people who've been on this ship now for almost a year. They have on a dock one time in a year. That was okay during World War II when you had to be out there all the time. But this ship has been out there longer than any ship since World War II. But World War II was constant fighting everywhere. Right. It was constant fighting everywhere. It was not you didn't have weeks and days off like what this fool is doing in Iran. It was a different war. But this fool have these people, and now he's mad at the rest of the world because they didn't support him. This is Trump's war. And it's one of the things that I hit the Democrats hard about is the fact that they're not hammering that issue to the American people. Just like they're not hammering a lot of them other things. Like you mentioned the healthcare, the food on the table. What happened during the last election with these MAGA people and Trump? They hammered these issues to the people all the time, every single day. They talked about food. They talked about the groceries. And Trump never been to a grocery store in his life. But they hammered the issues on, and no matter what, no one has had more confrontations than Trump people than me. These people don't care. I want y'all to understand that they do not care about anything but Trump. And what Trump says to these people go. Now, some people say, like Western say that the 39, 37% that still support him. Don't be fooled by that, because in the end, this country is evenly divided, almost evenly divided. And in the end, the South is always going to support a person like Trump. So that's why I'm saying we can't keep playing with these people. But the military issue is something that no president would survive. The insults to the military is something that no normal president will survive. The insults to humanity, which he bombing these people like he did, and what he did to the people in Venezuela, no one can survive. He's starving Cuba almost to the point where those people are setting fires with anything they can find now because they don't have any fuel. He has been a savage beast to our brothers and sisters in South America and like I said, places like Cuba. And I'm saying this is end with this. Y'all receive all my writings. I've been saying forever, this is a classic Antichrist. Donald Trump is the Antichrist that's in the Bible. He hits every single point. He also is the modern day version of Adolf Hitler. He hits every single point. And so what hurts me the most in this country is that the Democrats and our so-called religious community have not hammered these points to these American people, and it needs to go to those 89 million people we keep talking about who didn't vote at all. They need to understand that we're dealing with the Antichrist and we're dealing with Hitler. And I like to say before I go, thanks all the people who have already been sending in the comments, especially my family members. So they've been making
a lot of braces picking up, but I guess that runs in the family. But anyway, I had this other question. I was hoping Dr. Dent was coming back, but I know her responsibilities might have kept her away. But I wanted to ask this, and Delegate Chan, before you became a state elected official, were you a local elected official as well? Like,
I wasn't. I was a career public servant in county government.
Oh, okay. So, yep. But anyway, this question is for everybody anyway. And I've been interviewing local candidates here, and not only candidates, but people in the Hampton Roads area that hold elected office on a show that's under this coffee talk called City Talk with Slim. And each one of the candidates or the elected officials, I asked them this question because, at one time on the local level, it wasn't important or it wasn't required to let people know if you were a Democrat, Republican, or independent, because it didn't matter. It didn't matter when you're trying to get a pothole on your street bill,
Right.
what party you were in, or you know. But now it's a little different now. And I always ask this question of people, that in local politics, do you think the voters who are vetting candidates for local politics, do you think it's important for them to know the party affiliations now of the elected officials locally, or how they feel about national issues, or how they feel about Trump policies and things like that? Because some of those policies, even though all of them don't really affect you locally, what they do locally really affects you. But some of those policies are trickling down, just like funding for schools and things like that. It hits the state first, and then what the state would do for the localities have to be cut. So nowadays, it might be important. I know it's important for me now to know the affiliation of local candidates and how they feel about what's going on nationally. That could sway my vote, even though, a lot of us are saying, no, they don't think it matters. But in some cases, it matters to the voters who they put in local office, how they feel, if they are Trumper or MAGA, or if they're a Democrat. Sometimes that matters to some people. They don't want to vote for a Democrat. So how do you all feel about that now? Because times have changed. At one time, even on the ballot now locally, all the candidates are listed as independent because there's no real requirement. I don't know how it is in Maryland, but the state of Virginia, you don't have to declare what party you are in on the local level. But I think it's important. That's my opinion. I think it's important to know how you all feel about that.
Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Slane. I totally agree with you. When I was in county government 20 years ago, it really didn't matter. It was just about getting the job done. But now, especially right now, I believe that's so important to know the party because, as we talked about earlier, what's going on the federal level is affecting the state level. And the state, whatever we're trying to backfill and what we can't cover, we don't like to, but we pass it down to the county. And then the county, if they got municipalities within their county, they're passing it on to them. So it's just a trickle down effect that is not good at all. And, being on the state level, I feel bad because I love my county partners. I love my municipal partners in Anne Arundel County. We have the city of Annapolis. And so it's, we really try to do what we can to, look out for everybody. But because we don't have a true federal partner, it's really put us all in a very bad predicament. And the state, we're going to be this coming fiscal year another $3 billion in the hole because of what's going on in the federal level. And this is just a cycle that's continued. But yet the Republicans, they want to play it upon the Democrats that we're just, tax and spend. And that's not the case. It's because, as mentioned by Miss Catherine, who talked about Medicare earlier, how those cuts, as a state, we don't want to see Miss Catherine not get her allergy shot. So we're going to do what we got to do to look out for Miss Catherine. And you're welcome. And, and so that's, that's what we're trying to do. But, we can only do so much.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mark. I think it is important in today's time. There was a time, you got out there, you fought in the ring. Whoever won the election is like Obama said after he won his first term. He came back and he said, I want to tell those that didn't vote for me, you have a seat at our table as well. You have a place in my heart for you because we are all one in this nation. MAGA is trying to destroy that. That's their whole piece. That's the play of the devil right there. That's what they want to do. And I guess if you didn't know who the person was, you wouldn't have gotten Abigail to be the governor of Virginia. Okay, because again, if you put it on skin color, if you had voted for, I forget her name now. Wade, what was her name? Slim, that ran against Abigail.
Sears.
Yeah, Sears. If you had voted for Sears, you would have had Trump in the House. Okay. And it's like down here, like Jackson has said, if you vote for me, I want to see a good Republican with a good heart run for something. Somebody that's a Republican, you can be a conservative. I don't mind. The old conservatives had philosophies. They didn't want to see a lot of spending, unnecessary spending, but they wanted education. They wanted good health care. They wanted that as well. But now you got these people that's like, no, I'm going to give it to charter schools. I'm going to make sure we separate everybody from who they are. And if I can bring back Jim Crow 2.0, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And so, yeah, today's time, you right, Slim. We kind of got to know who you are, because you could have had Sears for governor. And then you're going to end up with all the progress that have been made be gone. Okay, down here in Georgia, we get Jackson in. He's worse than Kemp. We since I moved here, we've always had a Republican governor, but they've been pretty fair men. They've done things that I didn't like, but for the most part, they've been pretty good. They've been decent human beings. I'll say that. The last one, Kemp, he fought Trump for a minute, but then he ran back over there to him. But he's been decent, and we've got surplus. We've got pretty good schools down here. But yeah, you got to know who these people are. I ain't just gonna open my door and let anybody come in here and sit at the table and eat.
Yeah, even here in Portsmouth, with a city the size of Portsmouth, we pretty much knew who's Democrat, who's Republican, and we were even surprised by some people who turned out to be Republican that we thought were Democrats. But then when Trump came into office, their true colors came out, and but it's still, I mean, if locally, if they still serve the interests of the people locally, but what gets me, if they agree with some of those crazy policies that are coming down, and our school system, the localities plan on a budget, and when they're planning their budget, they know what they're getting from the state, they know what they're getting from the government, from the national government. So they plan that in there. So when those cuts are made, all of a sudden, during almost the middle of the budget cycle, and they're trying to decide, then they have to pivot. And sometimes they have to, really prioritize some things, and then some things get left out of the school system. Right now, we're dealing with maintenance that should have been done on our schools for a long time. So we got a referendum on this ballot coming up to add a 1% tax. And the Portsmouth people feel like they're taxed enough, but at least they're giving it to the people to decide if they want to tax. But it's to pay for the school maintenance that we deadly need because of the cuts that came from up here that have trickled down. We're not getting what we got from the state.
Right.
So we have to,
government.
So we have to find that money from somewhere, and it's usually the people have to pay.
Let me add to what everybody is saying, because everyone had hit the points, and I'm just going to put the hammer on each point. One thing, the question that you asked was about was it important to know a person's affiliation in elections and things all the way down to the school board level. As you said, at one point it was not as important because the main issue was the people love of the city or the county or wherever we were from, and people didn't care or didn't know until it came down. But now
all local issues. Yeah.
Right. But one of the first things that I said this on the show before, when I first arrived in Maryland in 1978, I saw a sign that says, think globally, act locally. So everything that's going on globally always eventually comes down to the local level. And so when you have these officials in office now, all the way down to the school board, the city council, and things of that nature, you need to know where they're coming from. Because as Mark knows, in the last school board election, we had people who were running in South County, and they were clearly running, and they would post the fact that they were Trump supporters, hoping that would get them the South County vote. Now, that is why we need to know on urban level where you're coming from. I don't care if you're running for commissioner of the dog connection. You need to know where you're coming from, because as you say, James,
you're a Democratic dog catcher.
Yeah, when you go into these meetings and they have to decide and vote on where the money is going to go, if you have people who got this Trump mentality on one side, you know where that money is not going to come to us. You know that.
Yeah.
You know they're going to divert it as much as possible. And you also mentioned about the school thing, and you know how the Republicans are always trying to push the independent schools, and they always try to push money to go to the Christian schools and things of that nature. That's a local issue now, and the local issue is based upon MAGA and Trumpism. So yes, you need to know where these people are coming from, and and on that point, I want to give again. I want to give some credit again to Mark. I want y'all to know something. In this in Mark, we mentioned before at one point he was a Republican, but when we met and the black people in this area met Mark the first time, he was coming to all our meetings, and he made it clear, I'm a Republican, but I'm here to serve the community. And he kept his word on that. I wanted people to know that. And then he switched over. He came to the right side, but but he served us as a constituent. He was doing constituent services. You called him for constituent services. You got services. And the other thing I want to say is that y'all know I've been trying to get this state to condemn and denounce President Trump and two of our elected officials. And this is what I want to tell you about when you're dealing with our people running their mouth all the time, and we're dealing with somebody who actually does it. And we hadn't made this a big public issue, but I have locally. Mark Chain was the only person who came up with a referendum resolution to condemn Donald Trump and his cronies in his state. Now, it never saw the light of day. And it never saw the light of day because we have a black speaker of the House who basically S-canned it. Okay? So I want y'all to understand that. We have 245 black elected officials in this state. Not one of them supported it. Not one. But who wrote the resolution? The man you're looking at right now. Now you see, and I don't give them no cut cards on this. And Mark knows this, and then I tell the people, Mark was the only one who allowed me to come into his office to even talk about it. The other people wouldn't even talk about it. And Mark told me when he came in, he said, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna go through. They're not gonna support it, but I'm gonna listen to you. Now, I would have rather heard that from every single black official in this state to hear the same thing. But they wouldn't even open the door. So that's why I say, when you say something about Mark Chan, you can kiss my ass because you ain't doing what he done. I want to make that crystal clear. But the whole thing is, again, if things come down to the local level, we need to know where these people are coming from, and we need to hold them to the fire.
Yeah, and I just want to make it clear. I'm not saying that on a local level, if you are Republican, that I'm holding that against you. I probably more than likely vote Democrat, but if you win as a Republican, I'm gonna respect you as my leader. I draw the line if you are a MAGA Republican and believe in some of the extreme policies or ideologies that they have. You know, that's where I draw the line on the local level, because I know some of the things coming from that is affecting us here locally.
Yeah.
So anyway, so yeah, that was interesting. I always ask people that nowadays, and you know, everybody answers it so far pretty truthfully. You know,
one position though that really shouldn't matter what your affiliation is because you have to follow the law, and that's your judges. You know,
I mean, they have to be apolitical anyway. You know?
Yeah, they supposed to be.
Yeah.
But we got a group up there now, baby, that woo. And
Are they elected?
Yeah.
Are they elected or appointed?
I was are elected.
But it still doesn't matter. They still have certain.
That's supposed to. Right. It's not supposed to be. It's just supposed to be. My question to them is: are you going to follow the law? Are you going to follow the Georgia State Constitution? Are you going to follow the Constitution of the United States? the answer is real easy. It's yes. That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to do. Well, if Trump asks you to do something, are you going to do that, what he says, or are you going to do what the Constitution says? The
Mm-hmm.
answer to that is easy. No, I'm going to do exactly what the Constitution tells me to do. If you start talking like these other ones I've been seeing, well, Mr. Trump is he is the president, and well, no, then you don't need to be a judge.
Yeah. Well,
That's
one thing
yes,
about elected judge, you can take them out.
yeah.
And the only judge, the ones that in the Supreme Court that you can't appoint for life, even if a appointed judge like they are here in Virginia, uh, you can go to your delegates that put him in there and make sure he's
Mhm.
not reappointed. But so it's a way if they don't follow what you think they should follow, you can take them out. The scary
Mhm.
thing is that Supreme Court, man. Them guys there for life.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you have them following the marching orders of a president, then you got a problem, which we all have seen that. But that's for a whole nother show. That could that Supreme Court could take up a whole show there. But anyway,
Woo.
gentlemen, I thank you for coming on this evening and having this fruitful conversation. And I want everybody to have a chance to have a last word, and if it could be, if you have any solution. One of the reasons we want to do the coffee talk now is have the discussions for sources of information for people that don't know certain things, and to also have solution based conversations where we don't only just talk about the problems that are out there. We might have an idea. Okay, maybe if we do this, and we've done that tonight. A few of us have said this is what we need to be doing if we want to
Mhm.
make a change. So it can't be all yelling and we don't like this. We want to make sure on this platform that we also give some solutions to the
That's
problems
right.
that we're facing. Might not be the right solution, but it's our solution. It's something to give people a food for thought, and it's just not just us complaining about everything and having nothing to say about what could facilitate a change
Yes.
that's needed.
Yeah. It's kind of for me out, and I'm gonna be through. It's kind of like John Lewis used to say: if you see something, say something.
Right.
And
Right.
we've got to get back to that. Boy, I miss John so much.
Yes.
Yes.
Because this is a time
Yes.
we needed the warriors like that.
Yes.
And I believe that there's another one out there. That Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, they showing me something. They strong. But
Mm-hmm.
we got to now. It's 2 months away now. It's August, September, October. Then it's going to be November.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to get out there now. We've got to fight. We got to get the non-voters at 89.3 million to say, all right, you see what happened. We got to tell them that. We've got to get those that are running to understand you got to be serious about what's going on. Don't worry about what mama cooked in the kitchen. You've got to talk about what you've done when you were in office. You got to talk about, like Ossoff does, what I did. I created these bills, and you got to sell that stuff. You got to sell that used car, baby. This is the time. The democracy is truly on the line right now. So we've got to bring our children up to. My daughters vote every election because when they were 1 and 2 years old, I had them there at the voting booth to
Mm-hmm.
pull that lever for daddy right there. So
Yeah.
that they got it in them. It was in their skin because my grandmother used to take me with her downtown Portsmouth to go register to vote, and she'd come out with a tear running down the eye because they would tell her, they would ask her how many kernels of Rice Krispies are in a box. And she would know all the other answers except for that one, and they would deny her the right to register to
They
vote.
always had one answer they knew you weren't going to get.
Yeah, had one up in there. And
Yep.
and so I've seen too much and I've been through too much to see this country go into the direction that it is now. And we've got to get the young people back. You know, Tuskegee just did a great thing by making them take the scarves and the bonnets off, and everybody, but they look good. Okay, they looking good now. But at the same time, we're teaching them other things. Once you get them into that fold, you get young people right. Young people are is exactly how Obama got in office. You know, it was the young people that did. I didn't know who he was until some young person came and told me, little young white girl came and told me about Obama. And I was like, oh, okay. But that's
Yeah.
what we got to do now. We got work to do. You know, we
I'm a-
ain't got a lot of lollygagging, but we got work to do come November, and we gotta get this ship upright again and get
Yeah,
that carrier back home.
we can't sleep on it and think it's a done deal, and we really have to outvote the whoever wants to try to steal the election. We have to vote so much that it's impossible for them to even do that.
Yeah.
They can't keep up with the amount of voters, no matter what they try to do to
Exactly.
discourage. You know, he's
Mark-
trying to.
Let Mark
Uh,
finish up. Let Mark
yeah.
do his thing.
Go ahead.
Oh, great. Well, thank you very much again, everyone, for being on the show, and thanks for the great conversation.
Thank you.
I would say that 79 days left to go before the general election. Get out there, the vote, early vote, mail-in vote, make a plan to vote, and get out there and register people to vote and to vote. So many times we've seen, going, knocking on doors and talking to people is that, people are registered to vote, but they don't vote. And, it's, and especially young people, we'll see them on TikTok and they'll get the different ads of the different campaigns on TikTok and Instagram and all that. But then that's as far as it goes. They'll talk about
Right.
it, amongst their friends, but they got to get out to the ballot box. So I just encourage everyone to get out there, be part of a campaign, or whether it be on the municipal level, on the federal level, and also to, be strategic about it. As I mentioned earlier, that, there are areas of Pennsylvania and, Texas a little further out, but if there's ways to get involved in other campaigns to pick up seats in different parts of the country, I would take those opportunities and be able to try to flip some seats. So thank you very much.
And I'd like to close off with this. First thing, thanks again, Mark, for coming. Thanks, Mr. Van, for the nice seeing you again. And please take up the offer from my family to be on a local classic conversation with my nephew. James know of him and his program. They're going to be talking politics tomorrow. So I'll see to that James gets you the information on how to get in touch with him, okay? So
All right.
I just want to close with what everyone else is saying. And I'm glad that both my sisters brought out what they do. And this is what we need to do in this upcoming election. Both my sisters, they go and get the grandkids. They pick them up to go vote. My friend Carl Snowden does the same thing with his grandchildren. He don't give them a chance to say, well, I'll go do it on my own. He don't trust them to that point. He said, no, I'm coming to get you, to take you to vote. And I like to say that to our people, Black people. If you are not talking to your nieces, your nephews, your cousins, you are not helping this situation. Don't think that they gonna come and do things on their own because they aren't. A lot of them are not connected. You do have those great kids like Brother Vance mentioned in Alabama and Georgia and some of them other places doing some great things. But we always seem to miss the point that we have to get our own families out there first. We have to get our own our brothers, even if the brother's not thinking right. We got to get our sisters if they're not thinking right. We damn sure got to get our nieces and nephews out there to vote. And it doesn't help to say, go vote. Go call them and say, are you going to vote tonight? Are you going to vote tomorrow? Are you going to do the mail-in ballots? You don't even have to leave. You can do the ballots. It's ridiculous in this day and time where you don't even have to leave your house to vote. All you got to do is fill out a ballot. And we can't get some of our people to understand that. We need to spend, I like to ask Mark to ask when y'all do y'all conventions and get together this thing, push the fact that we need to get it down to the level to get people to understand you don't have to leave your house to vote, and there's no excuse to sit on your butt and not voting. We need to get that money down to that level so we can get those 89 million people who did not vote at all to understand the need to vote, so we can get this crumb bum and his bunch of criminals out. So go to your family first, get them to vote, and then let's get this thing done, because this man must go, because if he don't go, America will fall, and I can guarantee you that. Thank you.
Guaranteed.
Well, thanks again, fellas, and I appreciate that. And everybody, remember to vote locally on this. Don't stop on that ballot. Do the whole ballot, and make sure, even down to the dog catcher, like you said. It doesn't matter if the dog catcher is Democratic or Republican, but it might matter to some people. I don't want a Republican catching my dog. But anyway, but thanks again. We appreciate it. Make sure you vote locally, and make sure you support this channel by liking, subscribing. We appreciate the Lewis family for all the comments they made tonight, and all the other people that were watching, and the people that will watch on our YouTube channel later and our Facebook pages. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Next Monday night. We'll see you next Monday night as we come back with some more exciting topics and guests. Take care. We'll see you next time.
All right.
And make sure.
Send me that information.
Be our guest on the Lewis